We are live. All right. Welcome to Worldwide Slot Car Chat on Zoom, number 200.
Wow.
No, we're not doing anything special for this.
Amazing.
A picture says 198.
Oh, well, you're looking at the old picture. No, it's 200. Anywho, let's talk about slot cars. Okay, somebody's got anything special for this. I'm gonna mute somebody.
A picture says 198.
Yep, there we go. All right, so start with show and tell, like usual. Put your virtual hand up, so I make sure to call on you, or wave your real hand at me, and I'll try to not miss you. So far, we've only got John's hand up. Go ahead, John.
Hello, happy 200. Yay.
All right, so start with show and tell, like you. Mr. Weber, don't unmute yourself because apparently you are playing the show in the background and it's feeding back. So
Yeah, suddenly it's an episode of Star Trek. We're going back in time. Oh my gosh.
You need to.
Well, there you go. As I stated last week, there was a model car, slot car flea market event in our hometown last weekend, and I did go, and I thought I would show some of the things I acquired. If you would like to share, I'm going to share screen right now.
No big deal.
Just remember that the prices are in Canadian dollars, so that will make the Americans weep even more. Now, this is something I just could not resist. These were 3 built 1/32nd scale models, although, you know, this Chevy, I doubt is 1/32nd scale. You know, that Pyro model, it's maybe 1/43rd at best. I mean, these things were bulge-mobiles, man. They were huge.
Oh,
I mean,
they were at least the size of the others.
Oh yeah, well, there's no way that that Chevy in real life was smaller than a Ranchero. Just no. But these were built so nicely, and I knew the chap, and they're going to go great around the track. And for $20 Canadian, I thought, you know what, just the Ranchero alone would make a nice little slide. But they're really, you know, they're fairly well done, so they're going to look great around our track.
Yeah.
And then a vintage Airfix kit. Okay, get ready to weep. Get the Kleenex. $5 Canadian, folks. Yes.
That's like $1.50.
Yeah, because this guy was like into 1/12 and 1/24. So it's like, just take it. Like, here. It's like, okay. Just lovely. And this was again pristine. I mean, it wasn't in the cello, but it was basically an untouched model, as you can see by the inside. Never been. I think people maybe breathed on it a little bit, but nothing built. It was just beautiful for like 20 Canadian dollars. Absolutely lovely. Can't wait to build it. And then you'll love this. Between these two, you have one good body. Right? But for $5, what is that? Like that's like $1.50 US or something, right? You know, and it's you can't beat it for $5.
Yeah, you just didn't get a windscreen though.
Well, that's okay. Actually, well, you know what? It's interesting because I know we get a lot of inquiries both on this chat and on my channel about how to make windscreens. And I'm actually gonna consume some soft drinks and show how to make your own windscreen out of a soft drink bottle.
Yay!
Yay! There we go. Now here's another great find. So this was the 1/32nd scale Testors Snap Tight Viper, which is, you know, a real great candidate for a slot car, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
And again, these folks are into 1/24th and other scales. $5 whole Canadian dollars. Now, being Canadian, I was tempted to offer him 4, but I just didn't have the heart.
That would have been very impolite.
It would be indeed, absolutely. And there was another.
There's a gold mine.
What's that? Sorry.
There's a gold mine.
Oh, absolutely. So old Auto World 1/32nd scale. There were boxes of these because they're. Sorry, go ahead.
Auto World. That the big one on the right hand side there, isn't that an Auto World sticker?
It is, yeah. And so are these. There was like bags of them because they're 1/32nd scale and nobody wanted them. So I ended up with, I think, 3 of these. Again, $5 whole Canadian dollars. Unbelievable. But the pièce de résistance. car model magazines. And ironically, I don't have any of these. I know.
Cool.
Hard to believe. 10 of them here for $10.
Wow.
Now they're not perfect. They're not perfect, but oh my gosh, they're so much fun to just to read and have some things that I've missed because model car science is one of my favorites and great fun.
Very cool.
But here was the best buy. So there was this guy who didn't even have a table. He was walking around. I think he was like begging people for loose change. And he had this car that he said was a true Can-Am slot car. And I'm like, what the heck do you mean by that? But he just gave it to me. Like how Canadian is that? Anyone recognize this
Yeah.
Can-Am car?
Oh, so he had already bought one of your resin copies and I sold it back to you.
Well, there you
That's
go.
what I thought. It's the
There it
right,
is.
the right one.
What in the world?
There it is.
It looks
So
like a little
guess-
overkill.
Guess
Oh my
who-
god.
Guess who's going to finish the car for you, Greg?
Oh, okay. So that was the guy who just gave it to you, right?
Yeah,
Mr.
just
Walker.
and then oh my gosh, he ran out so quickly. I mean, didn't even have time to call the authorities.
Okay, now I understand. Had me
Yeah,
thinking hard for a second there.
yeah.
So I don't know. There's some apparently this is an American-made chassis.
Yeah.
I know the body. It was made in Canada and painted in Canada. So it's a true, and not to mention that the wheels and the parts came from the UK. So it really is more than Can-Am. It's like a worldwide effort here, I think.
All right, well, let me know where to ship the sticker set. for you.
No. Actually, well, the thing is that because it was. Here's the great thing, and again, I sound like a broken record. Go to these shows; they're fantastic because there were modelers there who not only built cars but also built armor, airplanes. There are some people who actually make these things called decals.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
So I'm in touch with somebody who hopefully can, if not make the decals for me, at least maybe do patterns for spray painting or something. But he cautioned me they're really expensive. They could be as much as $5 a sheet.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Which is
Do they make-
$368 US.
Breaking the
Do
bank.
they make decals as well?
Yeah, no, this is the chap I'm talking to. He's used to doing military stuff to one. Oh my gosh! And
Decals
you
and
looked at-
decals.
yeah, and I gave him a snapshot of the scan that I had that I got from Leo, and he went, "That's it." Okay.
John, that was a brilliant lead up. I was waiting on the edge of my seat the entire time.
It was, well, all I can say was almost a career, and thank God it wasn't, because if it was, I'd be talking to you from a cardboard box.
Quite honestly, there will be people watching who haven't yet clicked that is the body shell that you produced, and it's been to Chris.
Can you think of a better way to celebrate number 200 than to get back on the 935
Progress.
horse?
Yeah,
Well, I want to make sure that we don't give Chris too hard of a time because he still did fantastic work preparing that body and doing the details and priming it and all that stuff. So your job will be a whole lot easier.
Yeah, I mean, and that's down my, that's really where what I enjoy doing are the detailing bits. And I'm actually going to paint the driver, and you're going to get a full interior because I have the parts here. So it's, and I've already, actually, I found some new pictures of the car as well. Should dig them out for you.
Thought I
Yeah.
had them all.
No, I found some new ones apparently. Yeah. So, so we're back on that, and I'll cover it on my channel as well. And it'll be fun. It'll be fun. So happy 200, everybody.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks. Looking forward to that.
Keep
right.
that.
Brian, you've got your hand up. Are you ready?
I am,
Go for
I
it.
think. So, just like Mr. Kit, we too had our slot car show this weekend, our first of 4 this year, or 3 this year. Sorry, new camera. And I picked up a few new cars. Not quite the deals John had, but start off with a GT40. This is the number 6 Andretti car. What can you say about these? I mean, out of the box, they're
Rocket.
smooth, they're fast, they run great. So a nice deal on that. The next one, I picked up a NSR Mosler. This one I think might be a little older. I have a Moser already, and I wanted a second one. The one I have is an angle winder with the big can in it, and this one happens to be Sidewinder.
They make them in all three styles.
Yeah. But I've never seen. I have a catalog from a couple years ago. Haven't seen a white pod before, so that's why I was kind of assuming. And it doesn't have a decal on the motor, so I was assuming it might be a little older model. Hard to say though, but
I mean, that's the older chassis style. It's not the Evo, so definitely earlier on than current. Yeah.
But beautiful car, runs really nice. Now these next ones are first for me. I've never had them before, and this is a Thunder Slot. This is the tribute model, the Andretti car, I believe it was, brand new.
Nice.
And I now have a new favorite manufacturer.
Yeah,
Lola.
they're great runners.
Yeah.
This thing,
7-0.
holy cow, absolutely fabulous on my track. Stock tires, I lubed it, I loosened the pod, and the thing is just a beast. It's smooth, it's fast, it's quiet. I now have a new favorite manufacturer by far.
Yeah.
And he had 3 of them. I should have bought them all, but I got this one as well. Another Thunder Slot.
Nice.
The number 5, the Fulmer car. Or I'm sorry, Danny Hulme. And last but not least, again, a first for me, my first Revo.
Now, Brian, you've already run these on your track?
Oh yeah, I've run them all. And to be honest with you, the car I'm least impressed with, this one.
Why? May I ask?
It's one, and it's more so for my track probably. It's very, very heavy. It's almost, I think it was almost 110 grams in weight. The Thunder Slots, I think I only weighed the McLaren was 60 grams. I don't know. It's beautiful. I mean, I get it. I did pull the bearings, flush them out. I've heard that, they get packed with grease and everything. I think the gearing on this just really isn't suited well for my particular track.
Have you chewed the tires?
No, I have not.
That makes a big difference.
I mean, it's smooth. It's not hopping around, but
it still makes a big difference.
I get it. I run silicone, so I'll be waiting for something to come in or look at.
That makes a big difference too.
Yeah, I may have to. Well, I don't have silicones on it. It's still stock tires on it.
Sure, but then you put a set of quick slicks or super tires, the ST3As or something like that. I think they are.
Yeah. So I'm. Don't get me wrong. I'm not disappointed. I mean, especially for what I paid for the car. And no, I didn't even pay that much. The 5 cars combined.
In what capacity was it underwhelming then? Was it its level of grip, or was it its speed, or was it the way that it jangles and makes a lot of noise, or what was it for you?
All of the above.
Okay.
Yeah.
The combination factors.
Yeah, I don't get me wrong. It's a neat car. It's a beautiful car. It's stunning. One of the rear bearings, I actually had to remove the carrier and use heat to get it out of the carrier.
Mm.
And that didn't set well with me. And I even tried to see if there was a burr or something in there and ream that carrier out a little bit. I had to use heat to get it back in. So we'll see. But again, not quite John's bargain, but those 5 cars were $300.
Wow. Well, Brian, I have to say though, your track looks really, really nice, by the way.
Slight change to that too.
Oh, hey, look at that.
I went ahead. Now, I don't know if you remember, but originally this curve went straight that way, down the back stretch, back down the middle, and then it had the curve this way.
Yep.
So I decided I wanted to try the elevation. So I went ahead and made, and they don't make any type of system for this. So I went ahead and made something. White's the material I had in abundance in the material I wanted to use. So I went ahead and did those. And what I do is each one goes up a half an inch. So I didn't make it steep. I think it's 2.5 inches at the highest point.
That looks great.
That looks
my-
good. That
my
looks
track
really
went the
good.
opposite direction. And interestingly enough, when we first did it, we did it the opposite. My thought was I had the elevation, this one over the top, coming into this big sweeper, because the track now runs this way. This straightaway used to run the opposite direction. And I don't know, it seems weird. You wouldn't think it would be such a big difference, but it just somehow didn't feel quite right. I don't know. It's just the rhythm wasn't there. And simply by changing the crosso, which was on top, the track has a beautiful flow right now. It's so easy to get into a rhythm. And I don't know if you're coming in a little slower into this curve to the back straight or what, but very happy with it, with how it drives. It's very, very neat. I did pick up a R1 curve set of curves for this, which I'm toying with putting down on this end. I would actually allow me to extend this straight, probably another full straight into here. I just don't know if I want a hairpin at the end of one of my full straights.
We'll
Just
go
kinda-
2 and then 1.
Yours are polycar, aren't they, Brian?
No, this
it's-
is
no.
scale auto.
Oh, scale out. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I
Your
think
ones
that
are
stuff
pretty
would be
tight.
awesome if it wasn't green. If it was grey, that'd be fine with me. But I just don't like that dark green. That
It is
olive.
grey.
Depends on your eyes and the light.
Yeah.
Gray. It's not green.
Oh, it's green.
No, it's not.
That's great.
It looks great now, but I tell you, in person,
It's green in person.
The greenish shade of gray. It's a grayish
it's like
shade.
it's like military spec slot car track in that respect. Camo.
That's all for me.
All right, thanks for sharing. Good set of cars there, and nice track improvements. Yeah, I would do at least try what you're thinking about with the R1. I mean, go 2 and then 1. Don't go straight into a 1 unless you're a masochist.
Yeah,
But
but that would probably not allow me to lengthen that straightaway, or at least not to the extent I could. And you got to remember, an R1 on this system
It's
is
tight, yeah.
nearly as tight as an R1 on a scale electric or a poly car track.
It is as tight. The inside lane is the same radius as a Scalextric R1, so it is as tight as a Scalextric R1 on the inside lane.
All right, you're gonna make me check because I have both on.
I mean, it
hand.
might be a millimeter off or so, but obviously the outside lane is going to be considerably larger radius than just because of the lane spacing. But while Brian is going to do measurements, Big Den's got his hand up. What would you like to share today, Big Den?
Good.
Good morning, good evening.
Good. Yeah.
Hi.
Good. No. Good. Seattle Wednesday. Ish. Not so much a show and tell, but just a couple of comments on something I saw on last week's show, and it's something I've seen on this week's show. One of the things that came on early on last week's show was someone had was an old AMT Hussein, friend of yours, sent you some pictures, Greg,
Yep.
and you're looking for tyres. I'm just wondering whether some of the BRM 24 scale tyres will fit on those.
I mean, he ended up going on eBay and finding some tires and he's working with Paul Gage to get specific tires to make sure he gets the right tires, but he found a set of wheels and tires on eBay that he ordered. So,
Yeah, well, even there's some of the BRMs. I mean, I don't know the prices over in the US or wherever he is, but you can get combo wheels for the, oh, pardon me, for the BRM 24 scale Group C cars, which would be a decent sort of diameter, which is what you need for to get clearance under those old AMT chassis.
yep.
So, and I've actually used on some of my 32nd scale cars, I've used Revo slot tires just on the flanged rims that were designed for sponge tires, and they slip on pretty easy and they're nice tight fit. Yeah. Regarding John Kitt's hobby swap meet purchases, I'd suggest that from previous experience of mine that those two things that aren't the Ranchero are probably Lindbergh scale. they seem to have a weird idea of 30-second scale. So
Yeah, I think they're actually Pyro, Big Dan.
Pyro, are they? Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard of that one. Yeah,
Yeah.
way back. Yeah. And the third thing was and Brian reminded me of it. When he was talking about it, playing around with the bearings for the Revo cars. What was it, the Revo cars, or did he have to get the bearings out of? Yeah.
And the Revo.
Yeah, it was the Revo.
Yeah. When some people find that those the bearing carriers aren't lined up. I just use a 6mm drill bit, and it's a exact fit for those. I think it goes between the holes and make sure that the two carriers are parallel with one another. That was all I've got for the time being. So
Good tip. Thank you. And
Yeah, you could probably just back off on the screws that hold those pillow blocks onto the chassis.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
wiggle them around a little bit and then tighten them up
Yeah.
slowly, and that aligns the bearings a whole lot better.
Yeah, and the
And
other
then
thing,
it'll be smoother.
Brian, the problem you had with that tight fit when you were putting them back in, one of the early fixes with Revos is people got a little piece of emery and turned it inside out, or and just ran it round inside, to take a bit of the anodizing off, or
yeah,
and
that's
that
I
just gave you-
figured that's probably what I'm going to need to do. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll go again then. Bye.
all right, Greg. So you were telling me that you thought that the Scale Auto hairpin curve had the same inside radius as a Scale Electrics.
This is based on diagrams showing the radiuses of various track systems. Yes.
You are wrong.
Okay, those diagrams were wrong. Show me.
No,
Oh, God, a
but
dead dog or what?
here, yeah, that's my dead dog.
Oh,
Here's the interesting thing. It's smaller.
That's a squeeze hairpin, not a real hairpin.
Ah, okay, I see what you're saying. These are all I've ever had.
Okay, yeah.
that's
But I'm not quite sure how that could be, because the spacing between the lanes, does the regular hairpin use the normal Scale Electric spacing?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, it doesn't have the same spacing as the Scale Auto, so I'm not sure how it could be.
I said the inside radius of the Scale Electric R1 is the same as the inside radius of the Scale Auto R1. Your Scale Electric is a squeeze hairpin where the inside lane moves out towards the outside lane. So that inside lane is a larger radius than a standard Scale Electric R1 inside lane.
Gotcha.
So
I'm just looking
still
at
be
this.
wrong,
Yeah, no, it would. Well, to this. So yeah, and this squeeze one, the inside one would move inside, the outside one would stay where it's at.
correct.
Okay. So I stand corrected, sir.
Well, I mean, like I said, it might be a mil or two off one way or the other, but it's at
It's
least
damn
The
close.
Scalectric track looks black.
it is.
It's green. It's purple.
It's purple.
It's purple. Yeah.
Just kidding.
But,
Any
I
track.
don't think this would be that bad of a. Again, I would use the same geometry where I do only use 3 of these here, but you can see that would give me at least another full straight.
I mean,
On
I
this one.
personally would not have a problem with that. I just know most people
Yeah.
hate going into an R1 after a long straight.
Yeah. Well, we've done it before, so it's food for thought. I bought it. I figured I might as well get it. The interesting thing was when I bought this track, one of the things Scale Auto does that's really ridiculous to me is all of the pieces of track are sold in sets of 4. You can't buy a single piece.
Yeah.
At least I couldn't.
That's
So
another
when I
system.
bought the R3s, I wanted to buy borders for all the curves I had. Now the track pieces come in pieces of 4.
Yep,
they
the
sell
hot
borders.
dogs and buns.
They sell borders in 6 packs of 6.
Of course they do.
Yeah. So it's like, you got to be kidding me. The only way that works is once you get to R4, R5, and R6, they're only 22-degree turns. So 4 of those only get you 90 degrees. But their R6 turn will cover 8 feet. It would take both of my tables to do the full R6.
Kind
So-
of kind of like buying hot dog wieners and buns.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
never come in the
Exactly.
same. Never.
Yeah, I don't know what their thinking was, but I was on Professor Motor. We were looking at something, and I bought this track back in August, and I swear the day before I looked to see if they had borders in stock, they did not. And then like the very next night, boom, there they were. So I ordered borders. So I finally got that finished. So I've got extras if anybody needs any.
Yeah. All right. Well, good looking track. And Big Dan, are you all done? Okay. Well, probably put your hand right back up for Club Corner in a few minutes. But Dennis put his hand up. And John, go ahead, Dennis.
Okay. Today's little bits and pieces are, hang on a moment, I just want to change my camera. Today's little bits and pieces. Firstly, some tools. I bought this the other day, just so that for something different. Came from a well-known East Coast tool, hobby tool supplier, and it's a powered screwdriver. Has a little double bidirectional switch on it, and it takes it recharges. Has a whole bunch of different little tips that one can use, and for guys like me that have bad fingers these days and are getting worse and worse and worse, it's actually really quite nice to try and reduce the stress on my fingers somewhat.
Now, Dennis, were those drill bits there as well?
No, that it's just these ones are longer. They're just different tips. Some of the Phillips tips and the Torx screwdriver, the bigger Torx, are just longer, and then these ones are Torx. The one thing that it doesn't have, which is interesting to me, is there are no Allen wrench. There are no hexagonal drives in this one.
But it's standard 4mm.
It's a standard 4mm interface, so that's easy enough to get in other ones. But what it did come with, which some of the other ones don't come with, is a set of nut drivers,
Sockets, yeah.
sockets. So that's all pretty nice, and I thought it's good quality. Mine had a couple of really weird things. For example, you can see that there's an empty slot right here, and the 000 Phillips or the 00 Phillips 000 Phillips bit was just not there. And also on this end, there's a 5-pointed 1.5mm in the back there, 5-point star, and then there should be a T6 in the front, but it's another 5-point star. So I'm waiting for them to replace those for me. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with it. I've been sitting here using it while I was talking, and it's really very nice.
Dennis, what were those other two parts in there? Are those extensions?
Okay, so this is just a regular screwdriver, and this is kind of like a scraper chisel tool that I don't know that I'll ever use.
Well, it's called a spudger.
Spudger, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
and
for
then there's
opening-
a pair of tweezers.
Yeah.
What does it have a good amount of torque or speed or both?
Feels like it's perfect for anything that we do.
Yeah.
I was undoing some body screws a couple of minutes ago, and it worked fine. And
Can you adjust the
all know
tightening
how
tool?
tight some body screws can be. Because I was undoing the body screws on this, which is the white kit for the sideways BMW M4 GT3 that I just got hold of. So that's one of my next projects, to do that up.
Silver, blue, and pink.
I think for a change, I might just do silver, blue, and pink. Yeah, just to be different. Yeah. All right,
So
that's
do
me
you
for
think,
now.
what do
Oh,
you think?
actually, there's
Oh.
other things going on, but it's probably a little beyond what you guys. Hang on a moment. Just let me get it. not exactly what you guys normally do.
Hey, if it's slot car anything, it goes.
But I've been busy building this up, which is there we go.
Focus. There you go.
Brushless.
Yeah, so this is a 1/24 scale Eurosport chassis. Now with brushless power. The difference here is that this particular chassis, which was built by Richard Mack in the UK, is designed for brushless. So the rear end of the car looks very different to what a normal Eurosport would do. He's left some pieces of steel in the chassis so that you can play with the weight distribution, but the motor mount is direct into the chassis already, so you don't have to have a separate mount. And then there is a rear mount as well at the back of the motor, so that you can. God, the seat doesn't focus.
Does it carry a ball race bearing in there?
There's a ball race bearing in there, yes, on the back end of the shaft. So there's actually now 3 ball bearings supporting the rotor, 2 on the inside and 1 on the outside.
Gosh, and so what do you do? Do you put that on the motor and then solder it to the chassis? Because
what I've done is you put the motor in, you mount the motor into its mounts at the front with the screws. You get the gear mesh right. Then what I did at the back here, the piece that holds. Let me see if I can get some light on it. There we go. There's a little bracket or the little upright that holds the bearing. Can slide back and forward in the slot that's made in the chassis to locate it. And so I put the bearing in and located everything, and then I basically just wicked some 648 Loctite into the slot to hold it in position. And so if I ever do need to take it out, it's just going to be a matter of heating it and popping it out.
Yeah. Why has he wanted a third bearing on there then, I wonder?
Well, this thing probably will rev to closing on 100,000 RPM. And and it runs with a very, very fine tooth, very, very fine pitch gear, because those are 80 DP gears that are on here.
Yeah.
So the idea is that you possibly just need a little bit of extra strength. So I'll try it and see. None of the others that I've done so far have anything like that, but seeing as it was available on this car, I thought, well, I might as well do it.
Am I wrong about this, Bert? But do you get a weird feeling when you look at it running without a body and see that giant thing in there rotating?
It's kind of weird when you first look at it and you see the outside of the motor rotating. Yes.
Yeah.
You get used to it after a while.
Yeah.
And it has a very different feel when you rotate it. It has a very different feel to what you would normally feel when you rotate a motor through its gears. Because we're used to a 3-pole armature with 2 magnets. This one has 9 poles on the windings, but only 6 magnets around the outside. So it again feels different to the other brushless motors that I've shown you before, which have 12 magnets.
Cool. You want to be careful about getting your string tie stuck in there somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a picture on Facebook from Richard Mack, the guy who built the chassis, of one of his motors that he had been testing, where the whole flux ring on the outside of the magnets actually broke and basically destroyed the motor. It was quite something.
Is that the one because it's a bent piece, a bent strip of metal rather than a
no, it's machined. You can't bend it. It's machined because there's no way you could get it round enough if you tried to bend it and and then join the two ends. I don't think that would work at all.
I mean, I saw somebody else post something similar that a brushless motor had exploded.
Yeah.
And it was because apparently that piece was rolled.
Really? Oh, it's rolled and welded.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
So he was like,
learn
yeah,
something new every day.
I mean, maybe it was just that particular motor manufacturer was cheap.
Quite possible. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. But they're like, yeah, bill it for sure.
A lot of the Chinese motors are like that, right? Probably like that. I haven't checked mine very closely. And I know that the end cap at the end of the rotor, that piece is usually a nice little aluminum machining because it has little fingers inside that fit into the ring and also are used to locate the magnets, to get the magnets in their correct positions around the inside of the inside of that bell.
Cool.
Yeah, very fun. Thank you, guys. That's me for now.
What you got, Mr. Weber?
A couple of little things. Picked up one of these little guys.
Auto art.
Auto art.
It's a beautiful car.
Lamborghini. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been messed with a little bit, but seems to be pretty good. They put some slotted gears and axles and things in it, and they put decals on it. I don't think.
John, did they put a driver in it? Because I don't think it came with a driver.
There's no driver.
Yeah, that was another thing. Yeah.
I have to try to remedy that situation without messing things up worse. But anyway, it's pretty cool. When I was a kid, about 14 or 15 years old, my older brother, who's 5 years older, had an MGA, and we were in the middle of wintertime. It's raining and snowing and stuff. We were coming back from Knoxville to our little hometown of Clinton, which is about 12 miles away, 12 miles away. Late at night, passed by this old-time motor court hotel, a big one, motor court motel. And outside, parked under the streetlights, was a huge semi-transporter flatbed. And on the back, it had painted in matching colors, something, I don't know, 45-foot, 60-foot, 65-foot cigarette boat, kind of tilted up on its side on the bed, and underneath that was a Lamborghini Miura, and that was in about 1966 or 67. Brand new, it was brand new, obvious, this real bright lime sort of color. At least that's the way it looked to me at the time. Wow. Anyway, never forgot that. So when I saw this, I said, hey, that kind of rings a bell. This is a Sidewinder. I'm not sure. I don't know a lot about auto art. I have an auto art Alfa Romeo GTA, and it's real nice. The scale of it is very accurate.
Yeah, they're beautiful cars. You'll probably just be able to use the wheels and the motor.
if even, yeah.
Yeah,
and then
the four-wheel drive.
The thing I have is a little bit of progress on the Yenko Stinger. I can show here. Got some.
Looking good.
Yeah.
The guide flag's not on, and the decals are not on, and I have to change a little bit with the roll bar, but got the driver in and his seat, and some semblance of an interior. Got to put some lights, tail light lenses or lights or something in the rear, but other than that, it's kind of coming along. It's very white.
It looks good. Yeah, but you know that Wayne's going to say it looks green.
Yeah. Okay. That's all I had. Thank you.
Was that auto art four-wheel drive or two-wheel drive?
The auto art.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Lamborghini is two-wheel drive. It's a Sidewinder.
Yeah. They do try to make anything that was four-wheel drive. They pretty much try to make the slot car four-wheel drive too.
Yeah, I
Well,
think
I
that's
have-
pretty cool.
I
But
don't think Miro is
it's
four-wheel
not
drive.
practical in some situations. But it's cool.
I had a Lamborghini Auto Art that was a 4-wheel drive. That's what.
Huh. Well, some of the they apparently they have the franchise for Lamborghini models in 132nd or something, slot cars or something, and so they made Murcielago, Gallardo, all those through the years. They've made them, and some of those were 4-wheel drive cars, sports cars that were with 4-wheel drive. So could have been those maybe.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway.
All right. Thanks, Mr. Weber. And anybody else got anything they want to show and tell? Otherwise, we'll move on to Club Corner. Looks like we're moving on to Club Corner. Go ahead and raise your hand if you want to talk about racing stuff. I don't know. Did Dennis leave already? No, there he is. Are you doing anything Scale Auto this? Is that this weekend or next weekend? Anyway, talk about racing. Big Den's got his hand up. Then we'll find out about Scale Auto racing.
Yeah, I was going to mention that, because it's going to mean 3 late nights for me watching the qualifying and all the racing and everything. So, or early mornings, whatever, depending on the. You're right there. Okay. Seems a long time since I last did a race report from our end, but and I was looking around for all the results, but then it occurred to me that I haven't got last week's yet. And one night we didn't actually race because we didn't have enough people, but I do have some shots from a couple of weeks ago. I think it was February the 23rd or something like that. So I will try a share, if I haven't forgotten how. Share screen. There it goes there. Come on. Right, so have you got, oh yes, you have got something up there.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, so this was the first night, one of the guys, Coxie, he bought in the 3 different Revo slot Datsun 510s, and Dave virtually took his straight out of the box and put it on the track. So there it is, the number 35 car. It's still a little bit raw as he hadn't had time to work on it much at that stage. Notable absentee from this field is me. I was visiting a friend in a nursing home, so I didn't get there for the first race, but close racing anyway. And despite the order on the screen, it was Alex who won the heat won the race from Peter by about 2 feet. So that was pretty close racing. And and then close again between Leon and Dave. So 75 laps for the Datsun. First time out wasn't too bad. So on to the second class, and I did race in this, but I might as well not have been there. So the car was misbehaving and didn't even make the picture. So Dave had a good win there with a very good score. 90 laps is a great score for a Group C cars, and the less said about my performance, the better. But I did redeem myself in the LMP class and managed to get the win there. And I ran an inline Avant slot car, the black Crema Porsche there that you can see, and it went reasonably well and surprised a few other people with its speed, and surprised me pleasantly. So there you go. Not what you'd call a comfortable win, but enough to win anyway. So, and starting to get more. Some of the guys are starting to get more consistent. We're getting. You need good. You need good laps to actually win anything these days. So, moving right along to what's that now? I'm moving backwards by the look of it. I've got some new pictures in this. I can't wait to see. There we go. That's just seen there. I'm just going to scroll through because I put some extra pictures in it now. So I might have to stop the share and start again because I added some photos to the folder. So and okay. Right, so let's try a reshare. And that's not the one I was not, so I can't see the one I want. Let's get rid of that. Okay, now let's go take 3. And share screen. Okay, I did head down to Hobart for the first time for a couple of months. Tuesday the 27th I was. And as you can see from the results there of our Porsche Cup race, which was Phil has suffered really badly from his illness and came out. It was his first drive for a couple of months and managed to have a fairly comfortable win there. The other guys sort of did most of the organising and track preparation for the night to make it a bit easier for Phil. He's going reasonably well. It's a slow process for his recovery, but it's what's expected. It's a pretty significant event. Interesting here, I got more laps in the Porsche Cup with my Porsche Cup car than I got with my Thunder slot, but as you'll see later, I got a higher placing with the Thunder slot in the Can-Am car. So there's the top 3 cars there with Phil with I think he did his own decals for the number 25 car there. So there's our results for the last round of the Can-Am series from Hobart, and I managed 5th place. There's a couple of guys had some trouble, as you can see there, and didn't quite get a lot of laps totaled up, and so I was quite happy to slow. Another interesting fact is 3 of us had exactly the same number 6 Sunoco McLaren M6. So it got a bit confusing when there was 2 or more of us on the track at the same time. One guy was very enterprising. He put a little yellow dot on the top of the airbox so he could pick his own car out. So that okay, and there's the top 3 cars. The 52 car is just so quick. I mean, it actually belongs to the father of the guy who raced it on the night. He pulled his car off the track with about 20 seconds to go and still won. That's how quick it was going. I mean, you look at the race times compared to the other people there, and it just shows how much faster it was. And then the last picture, I hope, is for Dennis. And this is KC Racing. I saw this one that they've actually made a stamped chassis for the brushless motor. And as you can see, the bracket is centralized, so the motor fits in the middle. So I noticed that somewhere. I think one of our local shops has got that. Local, I mean, in Australia. So I'm not sure whether I'll indulge in $50 for the chassis. Doesn't seem too bad, but then when you add up, over $100 for the motor and the other setup and your wheels and tires,
you're probably better off. First of all, it's 1/24 scale, right?
Yeah.
So you've got to find somewhere you can run that. Second off, it actually doesn't work very well. The feedback I've heard so far is that the handling is kind of unpredictable, and also that it bends quite easily. My friend Des Dunsire, who lives in Perth, has just finished building up one, and he's also reserving judgment on it at this point.
That's Des, is it?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well. Okay. You've saved me money, Dennis. By the sound of it, then I'm glad I showed it.
Quite honestly, this guy Ken Lenz, who owns KC Racing, is doing a lot of work with brushless stuff and a lot of good work.
Yep.
But this is not his best, I'm afraid. He might have been better off copying a little more closely the stuff that's already out there. But he's a drag racer basically, and so I think maybe he doesn't. Yeah, I don't want to say that he doesn't know what he's doing, because he's done some really, really nice stuff. The brackets and that he's had made, and the way that he specifies the motors that he's getting from China is all very, very good. So he deserves a lot of credit for all the work he's done. But yeah, this one, maybe if you took that pan off and you put a regular JK C20 C43 pan on it, the ALOS pan, and it probably fits, because it uses the same double bike bar system that the JK does.
Yep.
So if you took that pan off and put a regular pan on, you might find that it works really nice. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it was only we could actually run it on the middle. Like this is a king of the hill type thing. We could run it on our center lane and just just have the steal Greg's idea, king of the hill. Just everyone go out and try their best or their worst with it, and but it would have been just sort of a curiosity for me more than anything. But I do have a couple of other JK chassis that if I get tempted and get a spare $100 sometime, I might be tempted to just buy a motor setup just for the
buy a motor and a board. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that'll do me for today. I'll probably just head off unannounced in a little while. I do have a couple of commitments this afternoon, but I'll keep watching for a while yet. So.
All right. Thanks for sharing, Dan. And I'll just do a quick little report. You reminded me of something that happened on Monday when we were racing IROC, and I had to eat a little crow, because when we race IROC, the cars stay in the lanes and the drivers rotate through the lanes. So you're driving somebody else's cars all the time, right? So a lot of times before the heat begins, guys are like, which car is mine? That even though they know which lane they're in and technically which lane is, on the other side of the track, they can see, right? So they should know. But it's a running gag that we always ask that, and half the time we get it wrong. So I always say, your car is the one that doesn't move when you don't pull your trigger. and sometimes I will not pull my trigger intentionally just to make sure that the car that I think is mine is mine. Well, I was so confident that I knew exactly which car I was driving that I didn't hesitate this time. And I was driving. I was like, damn, this car, I was going good. And some other car went off the track, and I'm like, man, that guy should have listened to me. And I'm driving somebody else's car the whole time, and that was me that came off in the turn. They're like, somebody's driving the wrong car. I'm like, wait a minute. Dang it, that's me.
We have the same cars and the same colours.
Wayne, what?
Are they the same cars and the same colours or something?
No, it was that they were all different cars. It was slotted Group C. It was a good variety of cars. It was my mistake was that I forgot that because it's a figure 8 track, on that side of the track where the cars start, the lane 1 is not the inside lane anymore; it's the outside lane. And I was forgotten that, and it's not like I don't know. I've been to the track for years and years. So, but for whatever reason, that just poofed out of my head. I'm like, that's the car I'm driving, but it wasn't.
You reminded me about something I'll bring up later.
Okay, Mike, what did you say?
I said we have met the enemy, and they is us.
Yeah,
commonly referred to as a brain fart.
Yeah, getting those more and more these days. What were you saying, DeJuan?
That was the IROC race. That's why you didn't know which car.
It wasn't my car. Yeah, it was somebody else's car, so I had to just and I didn't take my own advice that I always I'm giving people a hard time about not knowing which car they have.
I did have a question about your IMSA races. I kind of looked at the video that Russ put out. You guys had 38 heats last week, not this week, but last week.
Yeah.
How do you get 38 heats? How many people were I don't understand.
That was probably Blair's race, or maybe it was somebody else's race. But we usually do King of the Hill, which is everybody runs the same car once for 10 laps. Then we do IROC, which is everybody runs the 4 cars or 3 cars, depending on the track, or 2 cars at my track once, right? And then we try to fit in 3 full rotations of the series cars.
3 rotations, gotcha.
3. So we've gotten a couple new members recently. So we've had a turnout for the last few weeks of 10 or even 11 guys. And before, when it was 7, 8, 9 guys at the most, that was not too much racing to try to squeeze into the amount of time that we usually have. Now that it's 10 guys, it's getting a little bit tighter, which was the other thing I was going to mention about Monday night. On the 3rd rotation, I forget if I was in for the first, right off the bat, I think it was like maybe 1 or 2 heats into the 3rd rotation. But then I was just lane 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, I was done. I got them all done. It's a random rotation, but sometimes that happens. And then this time I did all 4 of my lanes. And I said, see ya, I'm going home. I did not even hang around because, like, this is my bedtime, dude. I'm going. You guys keep racing, have fun. I have no idea where I ended up on the the list at the end, probably somewhere in the middle, because crash and burn, and I came out a few times. But yeah, it's a lot of racing to try to squeeze in. We start practice at 6, racing at 7. I like to be done by 9:30. This was obviously going to go past 10. So when we have that many people, we like to try to really keep on the ball with getting to the next heat. Get the next 4 guys' cars lined up and ready to put on the track. As soon as that heat's over, yank the cars off, put the new cars on, tell everybody where to go, and get your asses over to the driver stations and hook up, and let's get this show on the road. But most of us like it to be a little bit more relaxed, so I don't know. We might have to convince Pat is the main guy who really, really wants to get 3 rotations of the series in. And if we're going to have this many people or more potentially, because sometimes, like the last few weeks, one guy came and then he didn't come, and then another guy came and then didn't come. But it's been about the same, 10 number of people, but different people. So if we get those guys coming back regularly, it might be 11 or 12 people regularly, and then it gets even more difficult.
So if you say 3 rotations, I mean, if there's a 3-lane track, you're going to run 9 heats each person.
Correct. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a lot in one night.
So with 10 people,
That's
for
30 heats.
King of the Hill, IROC, and then 3 rotations, that's 50 heats.
Wow.
They're short heats. They're only 2
Short heats.
minutes. We do 1 minute, we have pause in a minute, and then we do another minute. IROC is the same as the series, so it's the heats are relatively short. King of the Hill usually takes a couple of minutes because it's 10 laps and crash a few times, and it's about the same as a regular rotational racing. So it's
Okay.
a challenge. All right, I'm done. You done? All right, we're done. Moving on. Mike's got his hand up. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, I debated this week saying anything since my results were dismal. Yesterday we raced 124th cars at Malaga, and I was DFL. So most of the other guys have switched to Eagle motors in their Flexi Flyers, and we had LMPs, and I was a full half second a lap off the pace. So I've got a tired motor, Pro Slot, Scorpion, and it's time to switch. But I don't know. I'm resisting because I don't like the idea of replacing the motor every 5 races that we do. So we'll see what happens. But they're relatively inexpensive. They're $12, so who knows?
I wish I could get 5 races out of an Eagle.
You're lucky to get 5? Is that
I
what you
said I wish I could.
Oh,
I
geez.
don't get more than 3 out of an Eagle before they go off. But then maybe the level of competition is a little different.
Or you're more demanding and they go off they go off sooner for you than
Well,
for-
there's a couple of things. Number one, you know, we're running flat track, so we're gearing the things for a lot of speed, and there's a massive amount of drag on the motor because of the gearing that we use, and so they get really hot. But yeah, 5 races would be nice.
Jeez. Yeah, I would love to see everybody convert the brushless for those. That way you'd run it forever.
That's
You know,
my
relative.
whole, it's been my whole thing.
Yeah. So who knows? Anyway, that was that. And then I finished second twice on Monday at Shiggy. Shiggy cleaned my clock pretty good. Although the last race or the second race was pretty close. It was unfortunately I was really working hard, and I had screwed myself by giving myself the wrong amount of fuel for the BOP. And so I had less fuel than I would have normally. And plus we had 2 instances of lost screws that ended up in the lane changer sensor, and were difficult to find. So we had time that we're running around trying to find to shorten the track. So that was annoying. So it was not our finest hour in that regard, but we got through it and got everything fixed up, and it worked out okay. But I finished about 3/4 of a lap behind in the second race, so that wasn't too bad. But the first race, I really got my clock cleaned. So
I watched some of that.
anyway, what's that?
I watched some of that
Did you see it live or?
live. Yeah.
No, yeah.
I kept seeing the ghost cars getting punted off.
Yes. I don't know what it was. Well, I don't. Those are the Porsches are I use for the ghost cars. Don't have as much magnetism as usual. So if somebody gets a little rowdy with them, they can be punted off.
Yeah.
It does happen. So and interestingly enough, both of us got punted off a couple times by the ghost cars because they don't have as much magnetism. So they have a little bit of a slide at where we set them, and we're trying to keep the ghost cars within a 1/10 and a half or so of the regular cars, and it makes it much more interesting to pass, especially if they get together, because they're pretty close in ability. So we'll see how that goes.
I haven't seen them when they come together.
Oh yeah, it's really annoying. You go, oh man, I just come out of the pits and both the ghost cars are right there, and you gotta really wait, and it's really hard to wait. And that's some of the impatience of especially Ratby. He doesn't like having to wait for the ghost cars much. So they will sometimes get punted off by them, and I have chastised him, but it hasn't done much good so far. The frustration level gets high for him. So, but it was fun anyway. We had a good time.
Yep. That's what it's about. All right. Thank you, Mike. Go ahead, Dennis.
Okay, so this week I've got a little bit of 124 scale retro racing to talk about. So this is the new track at our local raceway, and we've been doing quite a bit of flexi car, you know, the steel cars like the one that Big Den showed earlier on. Similar things to that. We've been running those, but for last Saturday we ran the very first retro race on that track. I want to see whether this is going to work. Yeah.
So, Dennis, you got a rider.
Yeah, is it digital?
Something, it's just not loading properly. It's out of focus. It's all digitized. So these were the Can-Am cars. We were 7 guys, so it wasn't a major event, but fortunately we use the Danish Lapmaster race control system that Carsten Grunemann writes, the software that Carsten's been on this chat a couple of times. I'm sure some of you will remember him. A really nice guy. He writes a really good program. And one of the things in the program is what he added during the pandemic, which is called a social distancing option, which on an 8-lane track splits the racing up so that you have just 4 people racing at once, and you're always 2 lanes apart. And so when you have a small number of racers, like we had 7, it's not really good for us to run 4 and 3. You want to run 4 all the time and rotate the guys in and out. So that's what we did. So these were the 7 guys that raced the race, and the Can-Am race was in the morning. I had a pretty good run. The fact that I've had a lot more laps on the track is showing at the moment, and I'm taking advantage of that. The other guys haven't had as much practice, and I don't care. I'm going to take my podium shots every time I can. So that was the morning races. I did. Dale did 2:22. I did 2:19. So I was 3 laps off. Not too bad. So reasonably decent times. And then the afternoon, we had 7 guys, although 1 had changed. And so this was the Formula One race in the afternoon. Dale again ran, and he actually ran further with his Formula One than he did with his Can-Am, which is unusual. And I ran a lot less with my Formula One than my Can-Am, which is also a bit unusual. The 2 are usually quite close to each other. The Formula Ones, even though they don't have the downforce from the bodies that the Can-Ams do, they're 1/8 of an inch wider, and they run 10,000ths lower on slightly smaller tires, and that evens up the performance quite a lot. They weigh about the same, and they have the same motors and gearing and so on. But it was fun. This new track is really, really nice for retro cars, which are all, the brass and piano wire inlines that we run. And the cars actually run very, very well on this track. So we all had a great time, and hopefully we're going to get more people coming back and bigger fields in the future. So that's me for now.
Good stuff. You're not doing scale auto racing at Electric Dreams?
I will be at Electric Dreams. Yeah, the retro race at Perron is only once a month.
Oh, yeah.
But I'll be at Electric Dreams this weekend for the what's his name? Yes, for the Scale Auto Challenge for sure.
Dennis, do you have any pictures of your chassis for the retro Can-Ams?
Yeah, probably do. Hang on, let me just see what I can find.
No rush. There's nobody else waiting in line. So.
All right, I'll just go through all my photos that are up in the background and see if I can find something for you. Hold on a moment. I have to probably go back a year or more because it's a long time since I built one.
I'd like to know a bit more about the Scale Auto race.
All right, so the Scale Auto race this weekend is what we call the Scale Auto Challenge. At Electric Dreams, we're going to be running 4 big races every year that are sponsored by and supported by some of the manufacturers. So the first one of the year is the Scale Auto Challenge, which happens this weekend. It's for Scale Auto GT3 cars only. we are running it with, as I said, the Scale Auto cars and Scale Auto, the SC0025B motor, the 21,500 RPM motor, open gearing. The tires are those AS20 gray compound tires from Scale Auto, and you can only use those, although there are a couple of different sizes, so that helps. And then I guess that's about it that I can think of. And so the Friday will be practice. Saturday is the qualifying, and qualifying is interesting because what we do is we allow everybody we scramble the order. Everybody runs 1 minute for fastest time. Then we take the top 20 and we run them all again 1 minute for the best time. Then we take the top 6 and we let those guys run again. And based on that, they get lane choice for their heat. Then we run different races starting from the bottom. The bottom 6 will run, the next 6 will run, the next 6 will run, and eventually the top 12 will run in 2 semifinals, and then from those 2 semifinals, then the top 6 will run in a final. All of those heats and finals are 3 minutes per lane. When we get to the main final, that is 5 minutes per lane.
Live stream on that?
Yes.
Including the talk session with
Ivan.
I saw further up the schedule there was a talk session.
Yeah, on Friday, I think Friday afternoon, and I don't know whether that will. It may well be televised, but I don't know.
It just say live stream next to it. That's going to be interesting.
Live track call, yeah, live stream. Okay. Oh, it's Bernard. I thought it was Ivan that was coming. Normally what that is, it's basically a question and answer session.
Yeah.
And then there's an announcement of or presentation of new cars and models and things like that. Hopefully we will get to see the new range of 1/24 scale 1930 Grand Prix cars. Because they've got a range of 1/24 scale cars coming out now that is the old Mercedes and Auto Unions and Maseratis and Alfa Romeos and things like that from the 1930s. They look wonderful.
Any idea how many entries it has at the moment?
I think we're expecting around 45.
It sounds like a good event.
Yeah, I hope so. Should be. It was a good event last year. So it should be good this year.
That's the one that I crashed, isn't it?
No, the one you crashed was one of the Enduros. Oh no, that was it.
I thought it was a Scale Auto.
It was a Scale Auto. It was the Enduro on the second day. Yeah.
Do we know which of their GT3 cars is likely to be most prevalent? Shall we say?
A lot of guys like the Viper. There are some guys who seem to like the Mercedes, the AMG. There are a lot of guys running the Spiker. A lot of guys running the Corvettes. And then I run the NSX. 1 or 2 guys have run the Honda HSVs, the early one from the JGTC series, but it's not that popular.
Quite a spread then.
Yeah, it's quite a spread, and there's not a lot different. 1 or 2 guys have even run the Porsches because the Scale Auto Porsches actually work pretty well.
Did the HSV ever get a new chassis? Because that original chassis was just a nightmare.
Not that I know. It might have got an R chassis, yes.
It must have, because
I think it's had an R chassis. It doesn't have one of the very new the very new green gray chassis, but it has one. I think there is an R chassis for it, the black one.
Something that didn't look like an erector set.
Yeah, that was a horrible chassis. I know. I had a BMW with that chassis, and it was awful. I had a Spiker with one of those chassis. It was terrible. I put an R chassis under the Spiker, turned into one of the most wonderful little cars that I've got. It really worked well, even with the Sidewinder short can on my home track. It's wonderful to drive. I found the pictures. Just let me check, and then I can do the screen. Mike, this is a picture of a chassis rather than a whole car.
That's better. Okay.
This particular one, I think I run on a bank track because it's a very light chassis. It doesn't actually have any hinges at all. This back support is just to support the back of the pan because it's not soldered against the rails right here, just in front of the motor bracket, to allow the thing to twist. And let's see what else I got. There's another one. This one has multiple rails, and it has these little insets in the pans that rattle, kind of like the mass dampers that the Renault F1s used to have way back, and a nice place to put weight.
Are these custom chassis that you made?
Yes, these are chassis that I made.
Yeah. So.
No, this is something different. Sorry, that's it. At the moment, anyway.
Thank you. I was curious what they looked like.
Yeah. So that's what those ones look like. There are another two. Okay.
Okay.
Those.
Are you still currently using those in Retro Can-Am?
Yeah. Yep, we're still currently using those. These two. The guy who has them hasn't really been using them very much, but I have a car that looks exactly like this that I use regularly, that works extremely well on that flat track.
What body are you using?
Sorry?
What body are you using?
I use mostly. Well, I don't actually use the TI-22 very much, which most of the other guys do. This particular TI-22 in this photo is I think an Edge TI-22, comes from Alan Reeder. Either that or a true scale from Victor Ferguson that I had and made, but I think these were Edge bodies. And then the one that I use, and I don't know if I've even got a photo here, is the Waters Bloom Ferrari. It's an old body that was used way back in the 1960s, and we found a whole bunch of them still in Australia. I bought out just about everything the guy had left. We've had a couple of new ones made. It's not in this lot. I'd have to go way back somewhere. I'll find it somewhere else.
At the top in your search, Dennis, just type blue car, and you'll get like all of your blue cars.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, you're right there. You're right there. Anyway, I'll have a look for that. I'll see if I can find one.
Alrighty, floor's open,
Thank
gentlemen. Anything anybody want to talk about?
Lane numbering convention. Is there a convention for lane numbering? Is the inside lane always lane 1?
No, the inside lane is black.
Yeah. I did talk about numbers though, Dennis.
Some
Red,
of our
white,
lanes are
green,
not
orange.
numbered
I
at
thought
all.
that was the convention.
Number wise, for most of our tracks, it's 1 is on the inside. But yeah,
I thought that was typical.
On my home track, one is on the outside.
Yeah,
Is
mine.
it?
Yeah, it's not like a
I don't
there
know
is no
that there is a
convention then.
convention.
yeah. Same with lane colors.
I knew that would be a short one, but yeah. It was Greg's talking about figure eight layouts and things that made me think, reminded me to ask that. I'm going to a circuit where the lane 4 will be the inside, which is not with the convention that I've always seen elsewhere. But it's a circular track, no figure eight to it. But lane 4 is the inside. And when I learned that, when I heard speak of lane 4, I was looking at the outside lane, applying my convention. And then I had the discussion about where the tight corners were, and I thought that's all completely arse about tit.
Yeah.
So I was like, what's the convention?
Sort of like the firing order on an engine.
Yeah.
They're all different.
The lane stickers that JK Products sells, that's my convention. Red is 1.
Yeah,
Red is 1, white is 2, green is
Yeah.
3.
that's a pretty
Anyway,
way to kind of decide on a standard. Is
yeah.
there's a company that
Somebody
makes
made a
stickers.
product, and that's what I'm sticking with. How dare you, Greg?
Yep. Well, since we're just talking about random stuff, I'm going to share my screen. One of the guys who's relatively new to the club is putting his own track together. This is that track. It started out as, this is 8x16 in size. He used to do 1/24th racing. So what he wanted to do was a Blue King style track.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, this is kind of where that was left until he decided that he wanted to go ahead and maximize his space and use some of this area over here. And decided that it was okay to be slightly less king-like in order to get more track distance. But yeah, you got the long straight, you got the widest possible turn, and then you zigzag back and forth a couple times, and then a loop back to the beginning. We are currently putting that together.
Nice. I think that'll run really well.
Yeah, I think it's got good flow. The only thing I don't like is he's got an isochronous curve over here where you go in wide, tight, wide, tight, wide.
Oh,
I'm not a fan of multi-apex turns like
Are
that.
those R2s mixed with something?
This is an R2, that's an R2, but then these are 3s,
Okay.
and then you enter on 3s. So you're going 3, 3, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 2, 3, 3.
oh.
It's just gonna feel weird. It's drivable, but I mean, at least it's not like a 2, 4. Like a 1.
Well, at
4.
least it doesn't have a half straight right in the middle of it or something.
That would have made it even worse. Yeah.
I have that. Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, that looks pretty good.
I've
The
seen-
direction
I've seen
that you showed looked weird, though. You're going down the bridge and
He wanted this bridge configuration. It'll run in the same direction as a king. So
okay, so it'll run left to right along the bottom.
left to right on the main straight, and then
Why
back.
won't it run both ways?
It would run
I-
both ways, but
It should. Yeah, I suggested to him that he
Yeah.
make it reversible.
Then you have 2 tracks at your house.
You got 2 tracks, exactly.
What kind of track is it?
Yeah, with the curl.
It's Scalextric Sport. He sent me some pictures. Let me dig those up real quick. This is
See, I've seen some wide arc. I've seen Scalextric Sport laid on top of a wood track where it wasn't possible to get around the 180 with corner. It was it ended up being corner straight, and it can work.
I mean, as long as if you're doing R4s like that,
No, it wasn't. We hadn't got the R4s, 180 degrees of R4s.
yeah, anything less than an R4 with straights
That-
in between, I
That
don't.
pinch right here at the right where you got that like piece of pie. What is that? R3 to R1? What is that?
This is R2112.
2112. Okay.
Yeah, so it's a parabolic.
Yeah, I've never
Uh,
seen anybody do that before. It's interesting.
Mhm.
I love doing that. To put an R1 in a track, this is my favorite way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it
You got
gives
to
you
slow
a
down
nice
anyway for the
entry,
corn. Yeah.
elliptical entry.
Yeah, it's basically the same drive as an R2, except you can squeeze it in. And by doing this allowed us to bring this all the way over. If that was all R2, we wouldn't have been able to bring it all the way up into the corner without squeezing this turn as well. And he does not want to squeeze this one at all. That's got to be 3/4 from start to finish. But he's also got R1s on right here on the 90 degree before you go into the loop, and then at the end of the loop before the straight is an R1 turn. So yeah.
Driver stations on the left then?
Driver stations on the main straight, yeah.
Okay.
That's equal share because both gutter lanes get to the inside of an R1.
Well, now that he put that third R1 to make that parabolic turn to lengthen the track,
so you're right. I meant at the other end. Yeah.
Before that turn was turned into an R1, it was even. Both gutters got an R1 inside.
It won't make a huge difference. It's not about distance, and it doesn't always follow that the quick lane is the.
This is analog.
It's analog, yeah.
And what are you guys using for timing? What are you guys gonna do?
For timing?
Yeah, what are you guys gonna do?
He's got a DS system.
Okay.
Yeah, most of the guys use DS, and it's just it's easier
Plug and play.
for everybody to use the same thing. Yeah. Yeah. So he basically it's another running joke of guys with tracks that aren't runnable, or guys building tracks or saying they're going to build tracks. He's been saying, "Oh yeah, I'm totally stoked about building this track," and then that every week it's I haven't gotten started yet, and he's like, "Hey Greg, when can you come over?" I'm like, invite me. That's all you got to do is say, "Hey Greg, come over at this time," and I'm like, "Okay, I'll come over." So I get there this last Saturday, and it's raw lumber. He's just got sheets of 4x8. He's got the 2x4s and the 1x10s and stuff. Like, okay, let's build a table.
Oh wow.
And he had a pretty good plan in his head for the most part, and no drawings or anything, but he had a pretty good plan in his head. And it's on the tall side because he wanted to be able to put the slot car track that I sold him several months ago last year under it while it's standing on its feet. So basically the bottom of the frame of the new track is taller than the top of the wall of the party track that I sold him, the 2-lane digital track. But that was a slightly shorter track because it's for kids anyway. So, but yeah, his table's on the tall side, and I was joking with him. We've got at least one guy, maybe more than one guy, that's not average height, below average height. He might complain a little bit about how well he can see the whole layout from his point of view. So I was joking, saying, "Hey, you could just go ahead and build a little podium, driver's podium to stand on.
Exactly.
Only got to be 6, 8, 10 inches."
You use the plastic kitchen step that the ladies use to reach the top shelf in the cupboards.
No, we'll make something cooler than that. One of the guys' tracks, before he redid it, was on the tall side, but he also had it just landscaped up the wazoo, and he had bridges that didn't need to be there, and just all kinds of view problems to begin with. So even I used the step stool that he put in one corner where it was particularly hard to see most of the track from, unless you had an elevated point of view. And the shortish guy in the club absolutely could not see anything from that corner of the track unless he stood on the thing. But we'll see. He might decide to cut a few inches off the legs and just fold the tables up, the other tables, to shove under there. But yeah, he'll probably say, "Hey Greg, can you come over this weekend and we'll start wiring things up," because he wants to be able to get in the next series rotation of tracks. And there's only 3 more weekends left before that, so he's basically got until early April before he needs to have that thing done. And he doesn't solder, he doesn't do electronics or anything. So
oh boy,
apparently I'm his go-to guy. I'm printing him a bunch of flat curb inserts for all his borders as well.
Yeah.
Well, you're a good go-to guy.
I'm a good to go-to guy. Yeah.
Is he at least supplying the beer and pizza?
Oh, he pizzaed me. He pizzaed me very well, which is always very very much appreciated. Even asked what I like and got that. That's always nice. And this is what we're running next. NSR Formula 22s.
Mhm.
Stupid camera. The guy who did my MR slot car in that blue and yellow Marlboro style livery, the Porsche 911 GT, he's going to do this in a he found some decals that are actually for the Polycar modern Formula One.
Mhm.
I forget the name of it because I'm terrible with the actual names of stuff, but it's a blue and yellow livery. Scalextric made it's an 80s livery, I think, an 80s F1 car. Anyway, it'll be blue and yellow, of course. So I look forward to showing that off.
That's what IMSA's next series.
That's IMSA's next series. Yep.
The Atalaya decals that are made for the Polycar modern F1 actually fit quite nicely onto the NSR Formula 22. I did a pink one with the BWT decals. That worked pretty well.
I think he said he was getting them from Patos.
Oh.
But I don't know. I don't care.
Yeah.
It'll be better than anything I can do. That's for sure. Yeah. I'm open to any tips on tuning other than the stuff I normally do. Is there something I should do to these that I might not already know? Probably. True all the tires.
I would say
True
some time
through
waiting
the
with them.
tires. Move the screws on the motor pod to the back holes.
The sides.
Does that Formula 22 have screws at the back? I can't remember now.
That's what I'm looking. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So-
It's got one in the front, and then currently they're on the sides, and then there's
Yeah.
two in the back that are unused.
Yeah, the cars just seem to be more predictable. If you move those two from the side to the back of the car,
Okay.
they're to the back of the chassis, they're a little smoother and more predictable that way. Other than that, nothing much. Just if you have to use the stock guide, just make sure it's as deep down into the slot as you can go because they're tiny.
Yeah.
That's
How's
about
your
it.
progress from the F1s?
Is this the car with the long motor shaft where the motor's slightly further forward
Yes.
than it?
Yeah.
Yes, super long.
Are you going to play around putting some ballast on that in different places?
We are allowed ballast. I don't remember the amount off the top of my head, but it's not a lot. Like maybe 10 grams total.
Oh gosh, that's not a lot. That's a lot.
That's a lot. But compared to what most of these guys like to put in their cars, it's not a lot. So,
Yeah, I haven't tried to ballast anything on the ones that I've got, but they don't ride as easily as the older Formula, the 88, 87, 89s or whatever they were, because of the big wheels and the low profile tires. They don't generate the same amount of grip that the old cars did with the little wheels and the big tires.
I drove both for the first time around Christmas this year when I went to visit Paul Longhurst, and that is a weird looking car to drive. It looks the length it is. It really does.
Yeah.
Yep. And the magnet they had a plastic cover welded in.
Yeah.
That was annoying.
Yeah, it's held in
Yeah.
and it's
They
so
did
far
that on the
forward.
789s too, didn't they?
This is my first NSR open wheeler.
Yeah, they're going to be challenging. Not as easy as most people would think. If you get one going pretty good, you're probably well set. Probably.
I certainly ain't going to guarantee that.
Has anybody heard anything about whether Polycar's going to come out with a 2022 Formula?
Yeah, there is one coming and it has a different motor as far as I remember.
Are they going to use the direct drive in the same way? you know?
I'm trying to remember what I saw. I saw something with a flat six motor in it. And whether it had the same polycar multi-gear drive or whether it didn't, I can't remember now. I think it did.
Tiny little thing.
Oh, I had a question, a general question. A lot of the guys in our bar art club, they put their cars on a battery and let them warm up while we're in between heats and things like that. Who finds the how much difference does that really make in warming the motors up like that? Is it performance gain, or what's your food for thought on that?
On SCX cars, it makes a difference, but I haven't noticed it on anything else.
I've actually noticed it makes a difference when you're running them to start out with, but most of the time for us, we get at least 20 to 30 laps of practice beforehand, so it doesn't enter into it too much.
And really only if you have an identified issue where you know that the motor works better when it's warm, would you want to do that, right? In a lot of cases, we're trying to cool our motors down between heats because they work better when they're cool, right? But I guess it's possible.
Next, you'll be putting little tire warmers on.
Yeah, psychological.
You don't need to. You just spin them up.
Yeah.
Or do the old
Right now.
high school sandwich warm up under the armpit. Yeah.
A lot of the guys in 124th have little fans blowing.
Yeah, to cool the
in
motor.
between heats
Mm-hmm.
to cool the motors.
And I use a little magnetic heat sink, a little aluminum heat sink with a magnet that clicks up against attracts onto the motor, and I use that. I prefer that to blowing air on them because it pulls the heat out of the magnets first, and to my mind, that's more important to get the heat out of the magnets than it is to get the heat out of the armature.
Ah, that's correct. Magnets work better when they're cold.
Mm-hmm.
It's not immediately obvious, but they are.
Especially neodymium. Talking about tire warmers, though, I have a very funny story. Well, I think it's a very funny story about tire warmers. If anybody would like to hear it, I can relate it.
So we got time.
It came from a national championship event in a city called Durban, which is on the south coast of South Africa, at a club by the name of Ikuri Elite, which is one of the oldest constantly running clubs, slot car clubs in South Africa. And we were racing a national there, and the way that national championships worked in those days in South Africa was that everybody got a chance to run on a 4-lane track. You got a 3-minute heat on each lane, and then you were ranked according to your best single 3-minute heat. Then they started the top 17 guys. They would take the bottom 4 and run you against each other on 2 lanes, and then you would move from there. The 2 winners would move up and take on the next 2 slowest, and then you'd have this Christmas tree type advancing system where you could work your way up from the bottom. And there was always a procedure in South African racing that you took your car and you checked your car into a pre-race paddock before your heat. And so your car had to be there, and you got up onto the driver's stand, and then there was a particular turn marshal whose job it was to place the cars on the grid and start from there. Okay. There was a couple of heats where people's cars were on the grid, the drivers were on the stand, one guy was missing. His car was missing, and this particular guy happened to be my very dear friend Russell Sheldon, who is one of the better racers. And for some reason, in that particular event, he had not qualified particularly well and was having to work his way up. Now, the particular track we were riding on, the start line is only 6 feet from the very first corner, which is a very wide right-hander on a slight incline or a slight bank. And what Russell was doing, and we only found out about it later because he would be standing on the driver's stand waiting, and everybody be shouting, "Where's Russell's car? Where's Russell's car?" And Russell's mechanic would come rushing over at the last minute, put his car down, and then the race director would start the race. And Russell would go pounding off into the distance on the first heat. And after 2 or 3 of these, I realized that what he was doing is he was getting his mechanic to preheat the foam rubber tires. They were using a little hair dryer, like a roller dryer, and they were preheating the tires, putting the car on the track. And because you're so close to the start line, he could punch it straight off and not have to brake for the first corner because his tires were already up to temperature. Anyway, having found this out, we got to a stage where I was racing against him, along with my friend Gustav Heyman and another gentleman by the name of Jock Dennell. The 4 of us were in this heat. And I went to the other 2 and I said to them, "Listen, this is what he's doing. So this is how we're going to approach this." Starting procedure for those races was power was on, your finger was off the button, or off your trigger. A light came on, and the light went off, you pulled your trigger and you went. The rule said that everybody had to get through the first corner without coming off, and also if you jumped the start ahead of time, then the race was restarted. If you jump started twice, you were moved back 3 feet from the start line. Okay. I said to them, "Right, this is what we're going to do. When Russell's car gets to the line, just as the race director is going to start, I'm going to jump. And then they're going to have to bring all of our cars back and restage them. And then the next time, Jock, it's your turn. You jump." Right? And then when that's done, on the third one, Gustav, you jump. Because after 3 jumps, his tires are going to be cold, just the same as the rest of us. And then we've got a chance of beating this guy.
Awesome.
We get up there and we're ready to go. Where's Russell's car? Oh, it's coming. His mechanic rushes over, he puts the car down. The race director says, "Okay, watch the lights. Here we go." And I jump start. All right, bring them back. So they bring them all back and they put them down. And here we go again. Right, everybody ready? Here we go. Watch the lights. And Jock jump starts. Right. So now that's 2. By this point, of course, we are laughing so much we can hardly stand. Right. It's just killing us inside because Russell's getting more and more agitated as we go. So now we get ready for the 3rd restart of the heat. Bearing in mind that the 4 guys that are driving here are probably 4 of the top 6 drivers in the whole country, right? And we probably have never jump started one of these races ever, right? But here we are. We have 2 jump starts and a 3rd start coming up. Everybody ready? Watch the lights. And Gustav got it wrong. He was just a little too late on his jump start, and he hit it right as the light went out and absolutely pulverized the rest of us into the first corner and around the first couple of laps because he got it absolutely perfect. But in the long run, we beat Russell, and that was what counted. But man, it was funny. We were laughing so hard. And after that, he didn't try to reheat his tires anymore.
Great story.
Yeah, it was fun.
That is a good story.
Thank you.
That's especially good because you figured out what he was doing, but rather than like making a big stink about it.
Oh yeah. I mean,
okay, you want to mess around? We'll mess around.
And you have to know how we were laughing by the time the third one came up. I
Oh,
mean, we were
God.
just we were killing ourselves inside, trying to keep straight faces. You know, that was good.
Dennis, I've got a question. It might come directly to you because I don't know if anyone else will have either used or heard of this, but Courtney pointed us to a product a while back, and today I investigated it a little further. I wondered whether anyone had ever used this stuff, motor braking fluid from Ralph Thorne Racing.
Oh, I know of Ralph Thorne Racing, but I have never tried his motor braking fluid. No. This probably comes from the time in retro racing where everybody was braking their motors in underwater or in simple green or in isopropyl alcohol or in some or other, some or other moonshine or whatever they could find, right? And that's probably what it's used for. I've never tried it.
I've done the water braking on sealed cam motors before, and yes, it works differently in different cases. I did one recently where the rotor brush was running really, really quickly. I like to, if a motor I'm not familiar with, I'll sit and watch it. And this one happened really quickly. I was looking at it through the side of the glass that I was in, and I could see the grey coming out pretty well immediately. So I stopped it really, really soon, and it was done. I was surprised.
Yeah, I've seen them break in 10 seconds underwater. I've had some that I've had 10 minutes underwater, and they wouldn't break.
Oh, yeah, and longer, where the water just doesn't seem to change colour, and then eventually it does, and then you're shining a torch at the end bell and trying to look in through the apertures and, to see whether or not you've achieved what you want. But yeah, I was just wondering, is he using that because it makes motor brushes bedding faster? Well, Courtney's experience is that they are quite quick in that stuff. But yeah, I mean, if you do the web searching, you tend to find lots and lots of people doing water dips.
Yeah.
And either that or various low voltages generally. And the time element is not short, it's not quick. It can be quite a long process, particularly with the cheaper end of the motors, like I don't know, let's take a Scalextric stock motor or something like that. It can take quite a long time to get a motor like that bedded in. Well, I race under circumstances where we get handout motors from time to time, and then you pretty much put them straight to use. And I've seen the odd individual take the time to do a break-in as opposed to not. And I don't know, but I feel as though I like that idea, but I don't like the idea of wasting much time to do it. So I just wondered whether you'd use that. And
I haven't, but my experience and the water dipping thing started way back in 112 RC days. Where they were getting handout motors, and that was the only way to get them broken in quick enough. And so any liquid that you put the motor in is going to accelerate the break-in process, because the motor has to draw a lot more current to turn because of the resistance of the water inside the motor. And then the rest of it, the fluid, is basically keeping the commutator cool. And so that it doesn't go out of round, and hopefully also keeping some of the gunk out of the slots of the commutator.
Yeah, very familiar with the reasons for doing it, and I've done it plenty. I just noticed that in most cases it takes more time than I've got in these circumstances. I'm going to be.
Courtney, if you've done it, have you used that stuff, and does it work?
I haven't. I remembered the fact that Courtney had shared it with us quite a while back now, and so today I pinged him and said, "Can you please remind me what it is?" And of course, I don't know whether you noticed, but it's out of stock, as in there's none available to purchase right now. Plus, shipping costs for anyone in the UK from the States is astronomical. So I'd
Oh,
be
yeah.
probably looking at more than double the price of the ticket
Yeah.
that's there. So I was wondering what alternatives fluids might accelerate the process compared to water. Whether I could homebrew something. And you've just mentioned isopropyl alcohol.
For 5 seconds.
British tea.
Yeah, a bit of Earl Grey in there.
Yeah.
You did specifically ask Courtney for that information. Courtney.
Yeah, I did, because I couldn't remember the name of the product.
Yeah. Dennis asked
that's-
Courtney the question.
Yeah, and that's what I use. I use that stuff, but I don't use it on the 24 scale stuff. I only use it on the small motors because when I'm sending something off the proxy, I want to make sure I got all the horsepower I can get. And like I say, with that stuff on the Piranhas, I like the Piranha motors a lot.
Mhm.
And the what's the other one? Predator.
Mhm.
You know, it's only 2 or 3 minutes at 3 or 4 volts, and yeah, I get good results. I don't use it on the big car stuff. Actually, I went to a handout motor race, and we only had a limited time, so I did use it there. I did okay at that race. I didn't win, but I did okay.
So you're basically just flushing this material out of its waste or debris out of the motor from its manufacturing process.
Well, no,
Well,
you're
not
keeping
only that, but it's
Forming
trying
the
to break in the brushes so that they sit
Right.
on the commutator better.
well. And the other thing, Dennis, you probably know. I think it was Monty Oren that came up. He called it the lighter fluid bath. I mean, I take them right out of the Ralph Thorne fluid, and I douse them with 10, 15 seconds of lighter fluid while they're running,
Mm-hmm.
and then I dry them off.
Mm-hmm.
And I think wasn't that Monty Oren that started
Yeah.
that?
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done that too. I can't say I noticed any great difference, but I've done it.
I'm
Can't see my
curious
phone.
what that break-in fluid smells of. Like if it's got a chemical, then
It's no smell. Ralph says you can drink it. I mean, he wouldn't recommend it, but you can. But it has no smell. It makes a couple of little bubbles, but
maybe it's just
I
like
can't tell.
deionized water or something like that, like purified deionized.
Oh, it's got quite interestingly the entry on his webpage there that I showed you. Scroll right to the bottom. It does actually gives you a list of ingredients, but the list is it's long. It's long, and I found myself Googling the chemical compounds to find out what they were typically used for. And there is an alcohol in there, and there is I'm going to call it soap. There's a surfactants,
Yeah.
and things like that. And surfactants feature in soaps, don't they? So
Yeah, it's the tension breaker.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
also factors in
Surface
very
tension.
inexpensive beer to keep the head, believe it or not.
Does it?
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yeah. The thing about
Wayne-
using
Wayne-
soapy water, which is an option, try
Yeah.
soapy water, is it might foam up like hell with a motor running in it.
Try
Just a drop.
try that water and then a couple drops of dishwasher. What's that stuff you put in the dishwasher to make the water flow better? What's that stuff? I can't remember.
Cascade.
No,
Well, whatever. It's the liquid form.
No, it's called a rinse agent.
there
Yeah,
it
rinse
is.
agent. There you go.
Rinse it.
Grab a
Yeah, well, it
dishwasher
actually
rinse agent,
makes-
a couple
right.
drops of that, and then maybe just like a little bit of rubbing alcohol or
Yeah,
isopropyl alcohol.
because
to
what a rinse
evaporate
agent does
faster.
is it gives water a sheeting action, so you don't get spots
Yeah.
on your glasses.
Right.
Does it?
That's what I would
Oh,
try if
good.
you're gonna make
Welcome
something.
to Science Corner, everyone.
So the
I'm
rinse
the
agent-
dishwasher, so I don't own any of that stuff.
No, I know.
You don't
It
wanna-
is,
you don't-
Mr.
oh, you're
Wizard.
the oh
You don't
okay.
you don't have to own it to buy it though.
Yeah.
So
But
then
I
go buy
also
go,
wear
go-
spectacles, and I often suffer from having washed them and then not wanting to wipe them dry. I want them to.
well
without
just wash
water
it in
spots.
cheap American beer, you'll be fine.
That's the way.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I only know that trick from my old days of painting miniatures. We would mix that into the inks so the ink would flow over everything faster
Yep.
and not dry on the
Okay.
top.
That's a surfactant basically.
Yeah. Okay.
Righto.
Things to think about there then.
Use it on a cheap scale electric motor and see how it goes.
Get some.
Well, this is it. I mean,
Distilled or
most of you
deionized
will be
water.
aware, but in a lot of cases, the commutator's round this way, and the brush is round the opposite way. So you're running on the top and bottom edge of the brush, and you really want that to reverse. So you've got quite a lot of wear to get through before that will happen naturally. If you just put the motor in the car and run it, don't get me wrong, it happens eventually, but it's just something to get the brushes nice and seated from the outset so that you don't hit the commutator as you're doing the early running too badly, and take the commutator out of round whilst you're doing the running process. You're running grooves into it with the brushes that are already there. You just want them to disappear quickly and, you know, get the best of the roundness of the commutator as early as you can.
There was a time where we were all doing the break-ins in simple green, undiluted simple green, and that breaks the brushes in really quickly.
See, that's a product we don't have here in the UK, so I'll keep hearing about it time and time again.
Okay.
Don't know exactly what it is or what its equivalent would be in the UK.
It's a biodegradable soap, basically.
Mm.
I know in South Africa it was called Clean Green.
It's probably just under a different brand name in the UK.
Yeah, it was
Who manufactures it? It's not Johnson & Johnson or anybody like that, is
no,
it?
it's made by Simple Green themselves. It's a
Go to
standalone
Simple
company.
Green UK. They got their own website.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
There
You
was
see,
another
that's
one called
research I
Mean
haven't
Green,
done
too.
yet. It's just something I don't come across.
What was
What
that,
was the other
Courtney?
one, Courtney?
There's another one called Mean Green that may
Mean
be
Green.
readily available over there. It was very similar.
Yeah.
It might do you good to actually dilute it or to at least test on a motor before, and because I know that the full strength clean Simple Green can be very aggressive on brushes.
Well, I've had a faff around today, and I don't have many opportunities because I don't have many motors that have not run in, shall we say. But
There's another.
I did find
soap
one, and I
type
did do
stuff
something.
similar to Simple Green. I mean, you know, you buy it the same places. It's Purple. It's Purple Power or something like that.
Yeah.
That stuff's very aggressive with alloys, aluminum alloys. We used to clean bicycles, you know, and somehow or another, somebody brought some of that stuff in, and it turned a bunch of really expensive camping rims and things like that to junk because it just ruined the finish on them. Black spots and things all over the place. So you have to be careful.
Yeah, there are a lot of
alkaline.
cleaning substances that take anodizing, really wreck it. Anyway, that was what I was just interested to see who else had got experience apart from Courtney. Obviously, I've listened to what Courtney's got to say about it, and it's still not available to me. So
get some deionized water and some rinsing.
gotta look for something else. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna hit the end stream button until next week. Everybody, wave bye. 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 Stream ended.